I don't think so. I've got some things I've been wanting to do for a while, and we've been building cars, we've been really busy. There's definitely a different direction I want to go, and here I can't do both. And
Behind the iconic beard and Texas drawl lies a man who once showered with hoses, slept inside the cars he was fixing, and almost became a park ranger instead of TV's most beloved mechanic. From working 110-hour weeks to building the world's first twin-turbo Ferrari F12, Aaron Kaufman's journey is filled with shocking revelations that even his biggest fans don't know. Here are 15 things you never knew about Aaron Kaufman from Fast and Loud. He literally slept inside cars. While filming, Aaron Kaufman's dedication to his craft during the first season of Fast and Loud went far beyond what most people would consider reasonable working conditions. While cameras rolled around him, Aaron would literally fall asleep inside the cars he was working on, completely exhausted from the brutal filming schedule that had him working up to 110 hours per week. The first season of Fast and Loud was unlike anything that had been attempted before on television. Aaron and his team were tasked with building 12 complete cars in just 24 weeks, which meant transforming rusted scrap metal into show-worthy vehicles at an absolutely breakneck pace. This was a feat that had never been accomplished before or since in the automotive television world. To understand just how intense this schedule was, Aaron and his colleague K.C. Matthew were commuting from Fort Worth to the Gas Monkey Garage in northwest Dallas, which added another 14 hours of travel time each week, on top of their already crushing workload. The combination of the impossible deadlines, the physical demands of fabrication work, and the constant presence of film crews created a perfect storm of exhaustion. The sleeping situation became so routine that it was captured on film multiple times. Aaron would be working on an engine or interior, and when exhaustion finally overtook him, he would simply curl up inside whatever vehicle he was building and catch whatever rest he could manage. The cameras kept rolling because the production crew understood they were witnessing something extraordinary, even if it meant documenting a man pushed to his absolute physical limits. This wasn't just occasional tiredness from a long day at work. Aaron was operating in a state of chronic sleep deprivation that would have been dangerous in any other profession. The fact that he was handling power tools, working with heavy machinery, and making precision modifications to expensive vehicles while running on fumes shows just how committed he was to making the show successful. The extreme working conditions of that first season would eventually contribute to Aaron's decision to leave Gas Monkey Garage years later, as he realized that the television production schedule was fundamentally incompatible with the kind of quality craftsmanship he wanted to pursue. He showered with garden hoses. The brutal filming schedule of Fast and Loud pushed Aaron Kaufman to make some pretty unconventional choices about basic hygiene, including taking showers with a garden hose behind the Gas Monkey Garage instead of making the trip back to his home. This wasn't just a one-time occurrence during a particularly busy week, but became a regular part of Aaron's routine during the intense early seasons of the show. Working on cars all day meant that Aaron would end up covered in grease, oil, metal shavings, and various other substances that are part of automotive fabrication work. Under normal circumstances, most people would head home at the end of the day to clean up properly. But Aaron's schedule during filming was anything but normal. The combination of extremely long workdays and the additional commute time between Fort Worth and the garage in northwest Dallas meant that going home to shower would eat into the few precious hours he might have had for sleep. The garden hose solution became Aaron's practical answer to staying somewhat clean while maximizing his time at the shop. Behind the Gas Monkey Garage, away from the main filming areas, Aaron would strip down and use whatever hose was available to rinse off the day's accumulation of automotive fluids and debris. This makeshift outdoor shower setup allowed him to get cleaned up without losing the time it would take to drive home, shower properly, and drive back to the garage. The fact that this became routine enough to be mentioned in interviews years later shows just how normalized these extreme working conditions had become during the show's production. Aaron wasn't complaining about the hose showers or presenting them as some kind of hardship, but rather as a simple solution to a logistical problem created by the demanding filming schedule. This kind of dedication to staying at the shop and working around the clock was part of what made the first season of Fast and Loud so successful, but it also highlighted the physical toll that reality television production could take on the people involved in making these automotive transformations happen on camera. His voice sounds like Owen Wilson on meth. Aaron Kaufman's speaking voice has become one of his most distinctive characteristics, but it's also one of the most puzzling aspects of his on-screen presence. Despite growing up on the south side of Fort Worth, Texas, and graduating from Crowley High School, Aaron doesn't sound like what most people would expect from someone with his background and geographic origins. A journalist from D Magazine, who spent considerable time interviewing Aaron, came up with what might be the most memorable description of his unique vocal style ever put into print. The writer described Aaron as sounding like Owen Wilson on crystal meth, playing the part of a craft brewer in an episode of Downton Abbey. This comparison captures something that many Fast and Loud viewers have noticed, but struggled to put into words over the years. Aaron's voice combines several seemingly contradictory elements that create this unusual effect. He has what the journalist called a bizarre Texas drawl that has soaked overnight in a bowl of New England clam chowder, only faster. This means his speech carries the slow, stretched vowels typical of a Texas accent, but somehow also incorporates inflections that sound more like they belong in the northeastern United States. Adding to the complexity of his vocal pattern, Aaron tends toward what sounds like formal grammar when his words are written down, almost as if he's speaking with a British sensibility. The journalist noted that this formal structure looks British when it's transcribed, which contributes to the overall oddness of how he comes across when speaking on camera. The speed at which Aaron talks also plays a role in making his voice so distinctive. Unlike the typical slow pace associated with many Texas accents, Aaron speaks quickly, which creates an interesting contrast with the drawn-out vowel sounds that still mark him as being from the South. This combination of fast delivery, formal grammar structure, Texas drawl, and New England-influenced inflections creates a speaking voice that's unlike anything most television viewers have encountered before. He almost became a park ranger. Before Aaron Kaufman became one of television's most recognizable automotive personalities, his career aspirations were headed in a completely different direction that would have kept him far away from cameras, custom cars, and the gas monkey garage. Aaron's original dream job was to become a park ranger, a profession that would have allowed him to combine his love of the outdoors with his passion for off-road vehicles and wildlife. This career path would have been a perfect fit for Aaron's personality and interests at the time, since becoming a park ranger would have meant spending his days in natural settings, working with wildlife, and having legitimate reasons to drive off-road vehicles as part of his daily responsibilities. The job would have given him access to trucks and other equipment for patrolling park areas, maintaining trails, and responding to emergencies in remote locations. Aaron has mentioned in interviews that he used to consider himself something of a hippie during this period of his life, which aligns with the environmental consciousness and outdoor lifestyle that typically draws people to careers in park services. The combination of his mechanical aptitude and his desire to work in natural environments made the park ranger profession seem like an ideal match for his skills and interests. The shift from wanting to work in national or state parks to becoming a television personality happened gradually, as Aaron's mechanical talents became more recognized and he found opportunities in the automotive world. His natural ability to take things apart and put them back together, which he had demonstrated since childhood, eventually led him to work at local garages, where his skills caught the attention of people like Richard Rawlings. If Aaron had followed through with his original park ranger plans, the automotive television landscape would look very different today. Fast and Loud might never have existed, or at least would have developed without the mechanical expertise and unique personality that Aaron brought to the show. Instead of becoming famous for building custom cars under extreme time pressure, Aaron would likely have spent his career maintaining trails, educating visitors about wildlife, and driving government vehicles through some of America's most beautiful natural areas. He built the world's first twin-turbo F12. Aaron Kaufman took on one of his most ambitious and unusual projects when he helped the Daily Driven Exotics YouTube channel create what became the world's first twin-turbocharged Ferrari F12, a build that pushed his fabrication skills into completely uncharted territory. This project represented a major departure from Aaron's typical work with classic American muscle cars and vintage Ford trucks, marking arguably his only venture into modern supercar modification. The project began when the team at Daily Driven Exotics purchased a used Ferrari F12 Berlinetta for $300,000 and decided it needed more power than the factory's already impressive 730 horsepower naturally aspirated 6.3-liter V12 engine could provide. After driving the car on a kart track, they approached Aaron with the idea of adding twin turbochargers to create something that had never been attempted before on this particular Ferrari model. The biggest challenge Aaron faced wasn't the technical complexity of turbocharging the Italian V12 engine, but rather the complete lack of space in the Ferrari's engine compartment to accommodate the additional hardware. Aaron discovered that everything on the Ferrari was incredibly difficult to work on, with components packed so tightly together that finding room for turbochargers seemed nearly impossible at first. The solution required some dramatic modifications to the car's original design, including cutting large openings in the hood to allow the turbochargers to extend upward out of the engine bay. This gave the finished car a distinctive appearance with twin turbo units visibly protruding from the hood, making it immediately obvious that this was no ordinary Ferrari F12. The project, which began in 2020, was delayed by the pandemic, but eventually resulted in a car producing between 1,200 and 1,500 horsepower, more than doubling the original output. Aaron used 2 precision turbochargers for the build, creating a monster that completely transformed the character of the elegant Italian Grand Touring car into something much more aggressive and powerful than Ferrari ever intended when they designed the original F12 Berlinetta. Richard and Aaron never hung out off camera. The on-screen relationship between Richard Rawlings and Aaron Kaufman was one of the most compelling aspects of Fast and Loud. With their banter and apparent friendship driving much of the show's appeal, but the reality behind the cameras was completely different from what viewers saw during each episode. Despite appearing to be close friends and creative partners on television, Aaron and Richard never actually spent time together socially when the cameras stopped rolling. This revelation came directly from Richard Rawlings himself during an interview with D Magazine, where he made it clear that their relationship was strictly professional rather than personal. Richard explained that everybody thought we were these buddies and everything, and actually, Aaron was just my employee, from the time he was 20 until 2 years ago. This statement put their entire on-screen dynamic into a new perspective for fans who had assumed their chemistry was based on a genuine friendship. Aaron's own comments about their relationship were more diplomatic, but revealed the same underlying reality about the nature of their connection. When asked about Richard during a later interview, Aaron said, "It's not that we have an unfriendly rapport. We do, or did do. We just don't have much of one at all these days." He went on to explain that, "I see the world very much differently than Richard does. I see how we interact with humans differently, what relationships with people are worth." The professional nature of their relationship becomes even more apparent when considering that Aaron worked for Richard for over a decade, starting when he was just 20 years old. Throughout all those years of building cars together and creating television content, they maintained clear boundaries between their work life and personal life that kept them from developing the kind of friendship that many viewers assumed existed. This disconnect between their on-screen personas and their real-world relationship helps explain some of the tension that occasionally surfaced during filming, and it also provides context for why Aaron eventually decided to leave Gas Monkey Garage to start his own business, where he could have more control over the work environment and the types of projects he wanted to pursue. He came in second at Orange County Choppers. Aaron Kaufman proved that his fabrication skills extended well beyond four-wheeled vehicles when he and Richard Rawlings took on one of the most famous motorcycle building teams in the world in a head-to-head competition that showcased Aaron's versatility as a craftsman. The challenge pitted the Gas Monkey Garage team against Orange County Choppers, the legendary bike builders who had become household names through their own reality television show, American Chopper. Orange County Choppers, founded by Paul Tutul Sr. in 1999, had built their reputation on creating some of the most elaborate and innovative custom motorcycles ever made. The shop, based in Newburgh, New York, had become famous for their themed bikes and dramatic family conflicts that played out on television, making them one of the most recognizable names in custom motorcycle building. The build-off competition represented a significant challenge for Aaron, who was much better known for his work on classic cars and hot rods than for motorcycle fabrication. Building a custom motorcycle requires a different set of skills and design sensibilities compared to automotive work, particularly when competing against specialists who had spent decades perfecting their craft in the two-wheeled world. Despite being outside his primary area of expertise, Aaron managed to create a motorcycle that impressed the judges enough to earn second place in the competition. This result was particularly noteworthy considering he was going up against Paul Tutul Sr. and his team, who had built their entire business around creating award-winning custom choppers and had access to specialized motorcycle fabrication equipment and years of experience with bike-specific design challenges. The second-place finish demonstrated that Aaron's fundamental understanding of metalwork, fabrication techniques, and mechanical systems could translate successfully across different types of vehicles. His ability to adapt his automotive fabrication skills to motorcycle building showed the depth of his mechanical knowledge and his capacity to take on projects outside his usual comfort zone while still producing competitive results against established experts in their own field. His girlfriend rescues pit bulls. Aaron Kaufman's personal life includes a passionate advocate for one of the most misunderstood dog breeds in America, as his longtime girlfriend, Lauren Moore Knobb, has dedicated herself to rescuing and rehabilitating pit bulls through her work with the Love Pit, a specialized rescue organization focused on helping homeless pit bulls find new families. Lauren and Aaron have been together since at least 2013, and their shared love of animals, particularly pit bulls, has become a central part of their relationship. Lauren describes herself as a dog mom to two velvet beans and uses her social media presence to promote the Love Pit, which is based in the Dallas area where she and Aaron live together. Her Instagram tagline reads, "Give me all the pit bulls," which clearly demonstrates her commitment to advocating for a breed that often faces discrimination and challenges in finding adoptive homes due to widespread misconceptions about their temperament and behavior. The couple shares two pit bulls named Lola and Lizzie, who frequently appear in their social media posts and have become almost as recognizable to Fast and Loud fans as Aaron himself. These dogs are often referred to with affectionate nicknames like Lola Bean and Lizzie Bean, showing how much they mean to both Aaron and Lauren as part of their family unit. Lauren's advocacy work goes beyond just her own pets, as she actively promotes the Love Pit's mission to rescue, rehabilitate, and rehome pit bulls who might otherwise end up in shelters or worse situations. The organization focuses on providing these dogs with the medical care, training, and socialization they need to become successful family pets, while also working to educate the public about the true nature of pit bulls as loyal and loving companions. The fact that Aaron, known for his tough exterior and mechanical expertise, is deeply involved in caring for rescue. Pitbull's shows a softer side of his personality that doesn't always come across during his television appearances. Their shared commitment to animal welfare, particularly for a breed that faces significant challenges, reveals the values that Aaron and Lauren share outside of the automotive world that made him famous. He raced at Pikes Peak multiple times. Aaron Kaufman took on one of the most dangerous and challenging motorsports events in the world when he competed multiple times at the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, driving a heavily modified 1963 Ford Falcon that he had transformed from a television show project into a serious racing machine. The Pikes Peak Hill Climb, often called the Race to the Clouds, covers 12.42 miles of mountain road with 156 hairpin turns and an altitude climb of 4,720 feet, making it one of the most demanding driving challenges on the planet. Aaron's first attempt at Pikes Peak came in 2014, which was actually his very first time ever attempting the hill climb. He was driving the custom Falcon that had originally been featured on an episode of Fast and Loud, where the car had been built as a tribute to the La Carrera Panamericana racing series. For his rookie run up America's Mountain, Aaron managed to post a time of 12 minutes and 53.892 seconds, which was an impressive result considering his inexperience with the course and the extreme demands of high-altitude racing. The Falcon itself was far from a stock 1963 Ford, having been transformed into a 500-horsepower racing machine powered by a naturally aspirated 363 cubic-inch V8 engine that preferred 100-octane fuel but could run on 93 octane if necessary. The car featured a Super T10 4-speed manual transmission and had been extensively modified with racing suspension, safety equipment, and aerodynamic improvements to handle the unique challenges of the Pikes Peak course. Aaron returned to compete at Pikes Peak in subsequent years, continuously working to improve both his driving skills and the car's performance for the extreme altitude and demanding course conditions. The thin air at high altitude can rob internal combustion engines of up to 30% of their power compared to sea-level performance, while also affecting drivers' reflexes and mental sharpness as they navigate the treacherous mountain road at racing speeds. His multiple appearances at this legendary event demonstrated Aaron's commitment to pushing his driving abilities beyond the controlled environment of television production and into the world of serious competitive motorsports. A single build made him quit. Aaron Kaufman's decision to leave Gas Monkey Garage after more than a decade wasn't the result of a gradual buildup of frustration, but rather came down to one specific project that served as his breaking point and made him realize he could no longer continue working under the constraints of television production schedules. The build that pushed Aaron over the edge was what he referred to as the Pantara build, a project that represented everything he had come to dislike about the direction Fast and Loud had taken over the years. In a candid interview with Art of Gears, Aaron explained exactly why this particular build became the final straw for his time at Gas Monkey Garage. He said, to be quite blunt, "The Pantara build, you don't see on the show, car guys get it, but a lot of people don't. The tipping point, that's the bottom end of the type of cars I want to build." This statement revealed that Aaron had reached a point where he felt the television show was forcing him to work on projects that didn't match his vision of what quality automotive fabrication should look like. The Pantara build represented a fundamental conflict between Aaron's desire to create meaningful, high-quality custom vehicles and the television production requirements that prioritized quick turnarounds and projects that would appeal to a broad television audience. Aaron went on to explain that, "I wanted to build cars that were that big, or bigger. And then, television needed cars that were much smaller than that. On top of that, There were some growing personal issues and professional differences of opinions, and so I decided the time had come, and I could see the fork in front of me. This single project crystallized all the tensions that had been building between Aaron's artistic vision and the practical demands of reality television production. The fact that viewers never even saw this particular build on the show suggests that it may have been abandoned or deemed unsuitable for broadcast, which would have added to Aaron's frustration about wasting time and effort on projects that didn't align with his goals as a craftsman and fabricator. The Pantara build became the moment when Aaron realized he had to choose between continuing to compromise his standards for television or leaving to pursue the kind of work that truly inspired him. He's a brand ambassador for MagnaFlow. Aaron Kaufman has maintained a formal business relationship with MagnaFlow, one of the most respected names in automotive exhaust systems, serving as a brand ambassador for the company and using their products exclusively on both his personal vehicles and all the customer builds that come through his ArcLight fabrication shop. This partnership represents more than just a typical sponsorship deal, as Aaron has integrated MagnaFlow components into his work philosophy and business practices since leaving Gas Monkey Garage. MagnaFlow, which was voted the 2017 SEMA Manufacturer of the Year, has built its reputation on manufacturing high-quality exhaust systems using premium components and the latest technology, with all their products made in the United States. The company's roster of brand ambassadors includes legendary figures like Mario Andretti, who is widely regarded as the greatest race car driver of all time, and renowned automotive designer Chip Foose, putting Aaron in the company of some of the most respected names in the automotive world. As a MagnaFlow ambassador, Aaron represents the company's core values of quality, power, and performance, which align perfectly with his own approach to automotive fabrication and his commitment to building vehicles that prioritize engineering excellence over quick turnarounds. The partnership allows Aaron to consistently use exhaust systems that meet his standards for both sound and performance, whether he's working on classic Ford F12s at ArcLight fabrication or tackling more exotic projects like the twin-turbo Ferrari F12 build. MagnaFlow's official description of Aaron emphasizes his journey from being interested in machines of all types from a young age to becoming a respected fabricator and television personality. The company notes that Aaron and his father used to work on any project they could get their hands on, eventually leading to Aaron's career as a mechanic and his success on Fast and Loud, where he returned damaged and decrepit vehicles to their former glory. The exclusive use of MagnaFlow products across all of Aaron's work demonstrates his confidence in the brand's quality and performance, while also ensuring that every vehicle leaving ArcLight fabrication meets the same high standards for exhaust system performance and durability that have made MagnaFlow a trusted name among automotive professionals and enthusiasts. He drove Old Smoky at Pikes Peak. Aaron Kaufman returned to the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb in 2022 behind the wheel of one of the most extreme vehicles ever to tackle America's mountain, piloting Scott Birdsall's legendary diesel-powered Ford F1 truck known as Old Smoky, that had already made history as the fastest diesel car to ever complete the challenging course. This opportunity came about when Birdsall, who is also the founder of Chuckles Garage, decided to take a break from driving his own creation and let Aaron experience what it was like to pilot a 1,400-horsepower diesel monster up the treacherous mountain road. Old Smoky started its life as a humble $225 beaten-up 1949 Ford F. But it had been transformed into something completely unrecognizable from its original form through years of modifications and upgrades. The truck was powered by a massive 6.7-liter inline-six Cummins diesel motor that originally came from a 2008 Dodge Ram pickup truck, but had been extensively modified to produce an unholy 1,463 horsepower and 2,100 pound-feet of torque. The engine setup used a pair of Garrett compound turbochargers that could punch out up to 100 pounds of boost pressure, with power sent to the rear wheels only through an ATS diesel stage 4 automatic 4-speed gearbox with a quick-change rear differential. Cooling this monster required a pair of intercoolers for each turbo that were flooded with water and methanol to keep temperatures manageable during the intense demands of hill climb racing. Old Smoky had earned its reputation through Scott Birdsall's previous runs, including a dramatic crash during qualifying in 2018 that required a complete rebuild and weather-related cancellations in 2019. The truck finally got its moment to shine in 2020, when Birdsall drove it to a record-setting performance that earned it the title of fastest diesel-powered car at Pikes Peak, a record it still holds today. Aaron's opportunity to drive this legendary machine gave him a chance to experience the raw power and unique challenges of piloting a diesel-powered race truck up one of the most demanding courses in motorsports. He never wanted to be famous. Aaron Kaufman's path to television stardom was never part of his original plan, as he had no interest in becoming a celebrity and never thought about fame during his early career working as a mechanic and fabricator in local Dallas-area garages. When the opportunity to be part of Fast and Loud first presented itself, Aaron wasn't drawn to the idea of being on television or building a personal brand, but rather saw it simply as a chance to continue doing what he loved most, which was working on cars and growing his skills as a craftsman. Aaron's primary motivation throughout his early career was always focused on becoming better at his craft. With each new project representing an opportunity to learn new techniques, tackle different challenges, and expand his understanding of automotive fabrication and mechanical systems. He approached each build as a learning experience rather than a stepping stone to greater fame or recognition, which meant his priorities were fundamentally different from many people who actively seek out television opportunities. This genuine disinterest in celebrity status actually became one of Aaron's most appealing qualities as a television personality, because viewers could tell that his enthusiasm for the work itself was completely authentic. Unlike many reality television stars who seem to be performing for the cameras, Aaron's focus remained consistently on the technical aspects of the builds and the problem-solving challenges that each project presented, rather than on how he was coming across to the audience. Aaron's approach to his work was always about the intrinsic satisfaction of creating something with his hands and solving complex mechanical puzzles, rather than about external validation or public recognition. He started his career essentially as a mobile mechanic, working on cars wherever they needed to be fixed, which allowed him to gain experience across a wide variety of vehicles and mechanical systems without any expectation that this work would ever lead to television appearances or national recognition. The fact that Aaron never actively pursued fame, but instead stumbled into it through his genuine passion for automotive work, helps explain why he was always willing to walk away from the television side of his career when it began to interfere with his ability to do the kind of quality fabrication work that had motivated him from the beginning. His first car was a Jeep Cherokee. Aaron Kaufman's journey into automotive modification began with two very different Ford experiences that would shape his career path decades later. Starting with the first vehicle he ever drove, which was a 1968 short-bed Ford F12, followed by his first personal vehicle purchase at age 16, which was actually a Jeep Cherokee from 1984. These early experiences with both Ford trucks and off-road vehicles established the foundation for what would eventually become his specialization in classic Ford pickup restoration and modification. Before Aaron owned his own vehicle, his father had given him the opportunity to drive the family's 1968 Ford F100, which left a lasting impression on the young mechanic and gave him his first taste of what classic Ford trucks were like to operate. This early exposure to the F100's driving characteristics, mechanical systems, and overall design philosophy planted the seeds for what would later become his passionate focus on Ford truck restoration through his ArcLight fabrication business. When Aaron turned 16 and was ready for his own vehicle, his father initially bought him a small Ford Ranger pickup truck, which Aaron described as practical for his BMX bike hobby, since he could load all his equipment in the bed. But he found the four-cylinder engine and long bed configuration wasn't quite what he wanted in terms of performance and style. Aaron saved up his own money and purchased a two-door Jeep Cherokee from 1984, which he immediately began modifying to suit his preferences and learn about automotive systems. The Cherokee became Aaron's first real education in hands-on vehicle modification, as he lifted the suspension and then had to deal with the resulting driveline vibrations that came from changing the truck's geometry. Instead of taking it to a shop for repairs, Aaron ordered a driveline spacer kit to fix the problem himself. But when the kit arrived and turned out to be nothing more than a pair of holes in rectangle tubing, he made a decision that would guide his entire career approach from that point forward. Aaron decided that whenever he needed something for his vehicles in the future, he would try to make it himself first, rather than buying pre-made parts, establishing the DIY fabrication mindset that would eventually make him famous on television and successful as a custom parts manufacturer. Stadium super trucks racing went badly. Aaron Kaufman's venture into professional motorsports took an embarrassing turn in September 2015 when he competed in the Speed Energy Formula Off-Road Stadium Super Truck Series at the Sand Sports Super Show in Costa Mesa, California, where his racing debut was marked by multiple struggles and at least one particularly memorable incident involving a concrete barrier. Despite his extensive experience building and modifying vehicles, Aaron discovered that actually racing high-performance trucks in a competitive environment presented challenges that were completely different from anything he had encountered in his fabrication work. Stadium super trucks racing is an extreme form of motorsports that features identical off-road racing trucks competing on temporary courses built in stadiums, parking lots, and other urban venues, with the trucks capable of launching over jumps and navigating tight turns at high speeds while drivers battle for position in close quarters. The series was designed to bring the excitement of off-road racing to audiences who might not normally attend traditional desert races, creating a spectacle that emphasized both speed and aerial action. Aaron was driving a Toyo Tires-sponsored truck during the weekend, which gave him access to professional-level equipment and support, but his performance on the track showed that having the right tools doesn't automatically translate to racing success. During his 2 rounds of competition that weekend, Aaron finished 5th in both of his heat races, which put him in the middle of the pack, but wasn't the kind of dominant performance that his television persona might have suggested was possible. The weekend's most notable moment came when Aaron's truck partially rode up onto a K-rail barrier, which are the concrete dividers used to separate racing areas from spectator zones and pit areas. This type of incident is exactly the kind of mistake that highlights the difference between understanding how vehicles work mechanically and being able to control them at the edge of their performance capabilities while competing against experienced professional drivers. In the feature races that followed the heat competitions, Aaron managed to finish 10th and 8th respectively, which represented a slight improvement, but still demonstrated that his first foray into stadium super trucks racing had been a learning experience rather than a triumphant debut in professional motorsports.